I think New Yorkers are a tough crowd, and I think they find their own.
You can't stop moving here. You can't stop being better in New York.
A New Yorker is a person with an attitude. Not like me.
New York City is a city of misfits, and that's how I felt. Like in my hometown, like I just never felt like I fit in. I felt uncomfortable in my skin in my small town. And then I moved to New York City, and I'm now not only normal, but I'm boring.
Yeah, I did my career in the fire department in Brooklyn, Sunset Park, engine 228, and the rest was history. I went on, and it was the greatest thing I ever did. You become a family with the guys you work with, and it's very rewarding to help people.
I grew up in Long Island, as I said, the oldest of 6, and I grew up watching my dad work. He worked in sports apparel when I was old enough to remember him working.
I first laid eyes on New York City at 19, and then I moved at 20. It was just home so quickly. It was home. A dog chooses its owner, or when you find your soulmate, you just know. It was like that with New York City. My jewelry company, it started in 2008. I was actually living on Wall Street at the time. Most jewelers will tell you that there's a lot of things you can be taught, but a lot of it is like you learn from messing around. You establish your own tools. I have literally drawers full of tools, and I think I use the same 6. My career started literally over a bathroom sink. So I would sit on the toilet and have all my tools around the sink, like a little burner and everything, because that was the only space I had, and that's where it started. And I just never stopped. Made a ton of mistakes, cost myself small fortunes. That's just being business, and I don't know, I never stop. I always joke, I quit at least once a week, and then next day I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do one more thing, then I'm done. And that one more thing has lasted me, what now, 13 years?
I'll get into this story a little bit. I was born in Tennessee, actually. Lived there for about 2 weeks. And my dad had a job there, but they decided to move back here. And it's kind of like, you think if you have a job somewhere else, what draws you back to a place like New York, where things are essentially more competitive and tougher, but people that want greatness and people that want great things, that they want to be around that level of competition. They want to be around that steel, sharpened steel sort of mentality. I grew up watching my dad work. He worked in sports apparel when I was old enough to remember him working. Some of my first experiences of New York City were getting on a train from Long Island with him, coming into the Penn Station and trying to keep up with his long strides as he walked to the office. You know, it's like sometimes you just realize that this is the place that you want to be. This is the place that, actually more than that, it's the place that you realize that you need to be, that you're not going to get the things that you want. You're not going to be the person that you want to be somewhere else. There's no place that's going to make you and mold you to be that type of person like New York will.
"20 years later, I retired from the New York City Fire Department, and I always had the ambition of opening up my own restaurant. And then in 2016, I brought Danino's to New York City in Greenwich Village. And Danino's in Staten Island is still there today. It's been expanded a few times. It probably sits 300 people today. If you're from Staten Island, you've been to Danino's without a doubt. I started working there from 21, from bartending to managing. I worked in the kitchen a little bit, and then I left there in 2015. So I was there for just shy of 30 years. Very sensitive subject for me, 9/11. You know, it was probably the roughest day of my life, obviously. I was actually off duty that day. I was on a golf course with 100 firemen at a golf outing, and we all got the call after the first tower got hit. We got a total recall to go into work. First plane hit, everybody thought it was an accident. You know, I thought it was a small plane, they didn't know yet. Second plane hit, they realized it was a terror attack. As I'm driving there, I'm like, you know, the fire's on like between the 85th and the 97th floor. How are we possibly gonna put this fire out? It's like impossible. And you know, what about the people above? How are we gonna get them out? Or, you know, can we get helicopters on the roof? And And then within seconds, the buildings collapsed, and there was no thought of that anymore. It's just, yeah, that's right. Tragedy happened in New York City, and New York stood together. I mean, everybody was out with a helping hand to help, not only first responders, but civilians who lived in the neighborhood. All downtown was shut down for a long time, but people were giving out food and water, and everybody became a first responder during that time. Everybody was New York strong. Everybody wanted to help everybody. I mean, in my eyes, I've never seen anything like it.
New Yorkers are definitely not afraid. They're ready for whatever comes, and they certainly don't want to limit themselves.
New Yorkers, strong-minded people. They know what they want. They go after what they want. They never get knocked down. That's New York.
It's kind of, I came in here, I'm just like sweating a little bit. I can't walk slow in here. I can't walk slow on the streets. You don't realize that now I'm taking these same long strides that my dad was taking when he was walking through the city and I was trying to catch up to him.
I think people foolishly underestimate the resilience of this city and its people. One of my favorite things during 2020 was seeing all the newspaper headlines daring to say, New York City is dead, New York City, everyone's mass exodus of New York City. One, how dare they? And two, that's just not what this city is built of. So I think as a real reminder, New York didn't die, New York didn't flatline, got a little quiet, but no, New York City never left. People did, but they will always come back because it's New York City.